Alright, let's catch our breaths first. Angar, I'll talk to you when I'm ready to discuss the next steps.
Good. I'll be waiting.
Just give the word.
Well, well, well. Look at that. Warfare. Field Marshal, demoralized. Reduce all damage if your health drops below 30%. Oh, if weapon type is two-handed. Do two-handed weapons give you a block chance? 2%. Well.
That's the way? Tahar, thank Nihal if you're awake. For a while I wasn't sure you'd make it. How do you feel? Out on the battlefield we didn't really get the chance to talk.
I just found out that my mother is a Shaper and that she's still alive. And now Rondar Lacane took her. How do you think I feel?
Bad, I assume. Sorry, that was probably a stupid question to ask. It's a tragedy. The purity on the loose, with the power of the Archfire in the Harbinger's hands. Who could have seen that coming? For what it's worth, I'm sorry I had to go through this. I truly am.
I always had my doubts about Lacane. Only I didn't expect this to happen.
I figure.
Be that as it may, all that matters now is that we stop him. What about you, Iskrim? I doubt whatever bargain you struck with Lacane still stands.
You're still here. So I guess you aren't planning on leaving.
Me? No, of course not. Where would I go, Tahar? There's no way of knowing what the Purity would do if they caught me. He wanted to kill you, so maybe Lacane doesn't want to leave any witnesses. Not to mention that we're still in the ancient Shaper city, full of marvels waiting to be discovered.
Well, I'm glad you're able to see it that way.
A frown hasn't helped anyone yet, has it? There's, one more thing I wanted to ask you. It's about your mother. About Andra.
Ask.
I'm not sure how to say this, but she was a Shaper. A living Shaper.
What are you getting at?
All tragedy aside, you have to understand how fascinating this is. A Shaper who survived through the Aeons. And as if that weren't enough, you even turn out to be related. I have so many questions, Tahar, so many questions. Iria said at the moment Andra and you melded, she made you see something. Fragments of her past. Now, I can't help but wonder, what was it? Did you see Mullendir in all its former glory?
I didn't see anything. It's more like I suddenly have that sense of familiarity. Especially here.
But that's even more exciting. She must have transferred some of her memories onto you. I wonder if that's part of this melding ritual. Look, Tahar, I'm not sure how to say this, but how would you feel about it if I examine her? There's so much we could learn from her, even if her mind has left her body.
What do you mean by examine? We're not talking about a dissection, are we?
What? No, of course not.
Why? What are you hoping to gain from that?
You mean apart from being able to examine the body of a living Shaper? There's much we could learn. Maybe we could even find something that helps us fight Lacane.
Iskrim, I just lost my mother. The last thing I want to talk about right now are medical examinations on her body.
All right. I understand. Sorry, Tahar. I meant no offense. I think I should get back to work now. I'll see you around.
Yeah, like, what the fuck?
What do we need? Understood.
Scrum, you weirdo.
Sure.
Well, I thought 10 was max on our stats. Oh, we're at 9 because we get willpower power on 2 items here. That's why it's on 11.
Tahar, ready to discuss the next steps?
There's just one thing I still can't wrap my head around. How did Lacane become so powerful? How could he rally so many people behind him?
The big question, isn't it? In the end, I think it boils down to the fact that he poured salt into the wounds the Mage Wars had left in Northander. You see, it's not hard to rally people behind you if they are desperate enough. He just gave them a simple answer to a complex question. And the people believed him. Though I don't consider him a pragmatist, he really believes in what he says, that Aeonia will return once mankind has repented, which worries me even more. There's nothing more dangerous than fanaticism fueled by magical power. Your father is the best example.
I want to talk about Sentenza. His death.
Well, what is there to say? As I heard the story, he didn't leave you much choice.
So you're not angry?
For you defending your life? No. I never understood why he was so obsessed with hunting you down to begin with.
But he was acting on your orders.
Well, yes, strictly spoken, he was. You were a traitor. Or at least, that's what we thought back then. That witch hunt in Iskander, the battle at the Eye, that was his choice.
Why? Why did he want me dead so badly?
Well, I can only guess. But to me, it seemed as if he felt as if you had, I don't know, betrayed him. He always spoke highly of you. Did you know that? At times, it almost felt as if he considered you his own kin.
Well, if he did, he didn't show it very much.
That doesn't surprise me. Sentenza was never good at expressing emotions. You see, Tahar, in the end, both he and I are men born from war. Seeing people die at your command, hearing the widows and the orphans cry as a result of your choices, it changes you. You need to find a way to deal with it. And Sentenza did so by shutting off his emotions entirely. Or at least to the outside. But in the end, he always did what he thought was best for Northander. He saw the Harbinger's true face, even before he revealed it. And I brushed it off as his usual distrust towards anyone, which was, as you know, a fatal mistake. And who knows, maybe if I had listened, it would never have come to this.
Without the Harbinger, I'd be dead.
That's true. But this discussion isn't leading us anywhere, Tahar.
You didn't tell me yet. How exactly did you get here? Weren't you in Greyfell when the Harbinger took over?
No, I wasn't. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing here. But we were on our way back the night it happened. As you can imagine, it was a hard choice to make. But eventually, I left my pride behind and realized attacking Greykeep with the little division I was traveling with would have been suicide.
So you fled?
We retreated. The rest is simple. We went to Iskander because we had heard the rumors about your army. There we met one of your scouts, and then the elven woman, Iria of Finon Mir.
Oh, she decided to let you in?
Correct. You know the rest. Your people were a bit distrustful at first, and I don't blame them. After all, they'd been fighting the Royal Army not too long ago. But eventually, they realized that we were on the same side.
I hope that we are.
We are. Trust me.
I am.
Good. Then let's call your companions.
Good. Now that you're all here, I'd like to plan how we proceed. As...
Tahar, I think you should allow yourself some more rest. You were in a coma for more than a month, and we still don't know what that melding actually did to you.
Isn't it obvious? It made him more powerful.
Yeah, but where does that power come from? What effect does it have on the human body or the psyche? We don't know.
I'm all right, Iskrim. Just trust me.
Fine. Then go on.
Thank you. So, our objective is clear. We need to defeat the Purity of Light and save my mother. Angar, am I right to assume that Lakain made Greykeep his new base of operations?
Correct. It's the center of his power, which is both good and bad. It's bad because Greyfell was built to withstand any kind of ambush.
And why is it good?
Because it also means if we succeed and reconquer Greyfell, we'll cut off the snake's head. Once we kill Lakain, the Purity will fall. However, there's no point in fooling ourselves. That battle for Greyfell will be bloody, and if we want to have even the slightest chance of winning, we need to join the remaining houses.
Ultran, Hallet, and Wulfgar.
Yes. If we put this army together with theirs, we might stand a chance. Also, you should see if you can strengthen the alliances you already have, Tahar. I have a plan regarding that, so we can talk further once this meeting has been concluded.
So do I.
All right. So where do we start?
It's up to you. But before we can even think about arranging a conclave between the houses, we need to break that spell the Harbinger put on my sister Myra. Iskra, any ideas?
Actually, it should be simple. We need to find the one controlling her, take the rune, and, well, destroy it in the forge.
And who is controlling her? What if it's the Harbinger himself?
I doubt it. The manipulator has to be physically close to his subject, so it'll most likely be someone in Lady Myra's army. But your rune will react to another rune's presence, so once that person is near, you'll feel it.
Good. Then I have a plan. The Harbinger has taken up position in Iskander, between the Utran and the Everlight border. You know that place, Tahar. It's where your father started his rebellion.
The Loyalist camp. So what's your plan?
We strike in full force and take the castle. He'll be forced to initiate a counterattack, and my sister's armies, the Utran army, will be the closest ones at hand.
A bait.
Yes, we hold the castle against the main army, whereas you, Tahar, and a small troop get behind enemy lines. You find the rune carrier and strike from the shadows. Obviously, you'll have to act quick. We can't hold against the entire Utran army forever.
What if killing the rune carrier won't break the mind control?
We'll just have to hope that doesn't happen.
All right. So we take over the castle, wait for the Utran armies to cross the border, sneak behind their lines, and eliminate the rune carrier. And once Lady Myra is freed, we will try to gain the support of House Hallett and House Wulfgar.
Yes, though we'll need to take care of something else before that. But let's discuss this when the time comes.
Agreed. One more thing. This will be dangerous, and our original mission has been completed. In other words, if any of you are thinking of leaving, now is the time.
Well, then we best get prepared now. I'll tell you when we head out.
Understood. Tahar, I'd also like to talk with you if you have a moment.
Everyone wants to talk with
Corporal
me.
Tahar. A word, if you will?
Who are you?
See?
Private Miller, Corporal. I'm from the Royal Army and came here with the Lord Marshal. We've captured someone who we suspect belongs to the Purity. He was seen in the deserted village outside this city, and he looks suspicious. He claims to be a simple courier sent to deliver a message to you, but we didn't want to take any risks. He's outside, near the entrance to the caves.
I see. Thank you, soldier. Dismissed.
Corporal?
It's Corporal Carpet. Right? Right?
Yes?
My god, okay, there's a lot of people to talk with, I guess. My god.
Ah, I was hoping you'd come by. That was quite the surprise visit, wasn't it? The Harbinger couldn't have picked a better time for his attack.
I guess you could say that. How's your injury? That blast from the barrier looked quite painful.
The blast? Oh yeah, sure. I'm as good as new. One of the perks of being a light mage. Tahar, I'm sorry. For everything.
What do you mean?
Well, what you discovered in that dungeon. I didn't see that coming, honestly. I mean, I'd always felt you were different, but an experiment of your father? I would have never guessed. And now that bastard Lacane took your mother. It's just... one tragedy follows another. Now I feel almost ridiculous thinking about my supposed problems.
We can still save her.
Yeah, I know. And we will. Blazes. How crazy does that all sound? A half-shaper whose mother's spirit has been stolen by a religious fanatic. If all this weren't actually happening, I'd think I'd be watching a bad play. Though you'd definitely be the tragic hero in this, and I don't envy you.
A bit of normality would be nice for a change.
I can imagine. Tell me, Tahar, if you had had the choice, would you have wanted to know? About your mother and how you were born?
Well, what about you? Your father also never told you who your mother was. Would you want to find out?
Good question. On the one hand, yes, I think I would. But then again, I never made any serious efforts to find out. I guess in the end it wouldn't have really mattered. She is dead, I know that much. And whether she was a priestess of the White Tree or a slum dweller, it wouldn't have changed the fact that she wasn't there when I grew up. But you're a different story. Your mother is still alive. And she's a shaper. I mean, doesn't that change everything? Would you really have wanted to know?
Yes. It's always better to know the truth.
Is it? Sometimes I wonder if the truth doesn't just make it all worse. Anyway, shaper or not, it's good to have you back. Honestly, there were times when I was worried you wouldn't ever wake up again.
I'm touched.
You better be. Anyway, in case you were wondering, I'm not planning to leave now. If you need my help, I'll be here.
You don't need to stay. You know that, right? Our work with the Purity is over, and nothing's stopping you from going back on the road.
Safer than mage murdering Lightbringers, right? Look, unless you want me to leave, I'll stay, and I'll fight. And no, I'm not trying to sound heroic. Apart from the fact that there's worse company than you, the dwarf, and the others we picked up along the way, I can't just stand by and watch while those bloody fanatics do their best to plunge this world into yet another war.
Thanks, Iria. I really appreciate it.
Great. And now that we've got that out of the way, you should get some more sleep. You still look like a walking corpse. Don't make a habit out of it. I'll talk to you later.
Corporal?
Yes?
Yes.
I can still talk with her, what the fuck? Alright, say bye-bye.
Corporal? Need anything?
I would still like to know why you stayed with us.
You're insistent, you know that? But to be honest, I've been thinking about that since you asked me.
Found an answer?
2 answers, actually. First one, you know already. I'm a fugitive. And if the Purity or Nortander got their hands on me again, it wouldn't have ended well for me.
I understand. What's the second answer?
Well,
What's up,
that
Spec?
one's hard to put into words. You know, there's one thing I like about you, Tahar. Despite all you've been through, you still fight. You're trying to make a difference one way or the other. So many in your position would have given up long ago, but you keep on searching, as the Harbinger said back in Greykeep. And I respect that. More so, I can relate to it.
How?
Well, there's just so much shit going on in the world, and yet so many people just don't care. They try to use the chaos to their advantage or just look away. There were and still are times when I found this hard to bear. It was also one of the reasons I spent so many years on the road. Away from the wars, the intrigues, the suffering, and all those bloody idiots. Out there, it's just different. And sometimes I wonder if the trees maybe know more about life than we ever did. They grow, they live, they die. If we'd managed to do just that instead of killing one another in the meantime, this world would be another place.
So you're here because you want to change things. Is that what you're saying?
Change? No. I don't see how this world could or ever will be changed. But at least we do something. And, you know, there was a time when I'd forgotten that this was even an option. You reminded me of that. And that's why I'm following you. Now, please don't look at me like that. You wanted the answer, and that was my best shot at it. Now, let's get back to less serious topics, shall we?
You wish you could just charge yourself up like a battery. You can do that, Kasha. It's called sleeping.
You never told me why you fled Finn and Mir.
Fair enough. You've given me little reason to distrust you, so... Oh well. Let's just get this over with. I already told you about my father. How to him I had always been more of an asset. Well, after my father died, I decided to become a novice.
A novice?
Someone aspiring to be a priest of Ellen. I don't know why I did it. It was something my father had always considered a backup plan if an arranged marriage wouldn't work out. Part of it was probably because obeying my father was all I knew at that time.
What does life as a priest of Ellen look like?
Boring. Though not as boring as a Northander monk's life. You are free to have family and to indulge in the earthly pleasures. Still, your life is devoted to worship. And for a priest of Ellen, that means healing the sick and preserving Ellen's greatest gift, nature.
Was it difficult to receive the novitiate?
Not for me. First of all, I was a good candidate. I was still very young, not even in my 30s. And I already knew a great deal about magic and healing. Secondly, I was, after all, pure blood. That helped as well.
But something happened.
Yes. In my first year, I fell in love. That crazy, hot-blooded, head-over-the-heels kind of love that the bards all sing about. The boy felt the same way, and for the next year it was, well, it was perfect. It was the two of us against the world. Maybe you know that feeling.
And the priests didn't mind?
Priestesses. Only women are allowed to teach. And no, they didn't. Elves consider love to be a blessing of Ellen. Forbidding it would be near absurd. I have no clue where your monks got that idea from. Though, of course, that boy and I tried to, restrain ourselves when the situation demanded it.
I read a certain World War II book composed diaries of a woman who lived in Amsterdam, and man, nothing ever changes. Humans just keep repeating the same things. People written by someone in the Holocaust. It's surreal to see the conversations I have with people written by someone in the... Ah, okay, now I got it. Yeah, I guess people don't change, huh?
What was his
It's the
name?
world around
Doesn't
them.
matter.
Huh. And I guess your romance didn't end well.
You guess right. But it was more than that. You know, I told you how I always felt estranged around other people. I knew how to put on a smile, how to make myself fit in, but it was always fake. Shallow. With him, it was different. Dramatic as it may sound, I thought I had finally found someone who understood me. Then there was the novitiate. Despite all the time I sunk into doing the crazy things lovers often do, I never failed as a student. Or, no, let's put it another way. I was the best. In every aspect.
Which didn't sit well with some people.
No. And eventually, they made sure I felt it. They excluded me from everything. Stared at me when I walked by. It hurt, yes, but I convinced myself it didn't. I've always been good at that.
But what happened?
My lover's friends started manipulating him. Telling him that I only saw him as my pet. That he was a failure, and that I only kept him around to feel good about myself.
That's toxic.
It was. And their seeds met fertile ground. You see, We novices all knew that only 4 out of 20 will be granted priesthood at the end of our training, and being a failed novice leaves you with a mark you'll keep for the rest of your life. It all looked peaceful on the surface, but beneath that it was an arena. And these other novices, they made sure my friend became aware of that fact. To him, I started being a rival as well. And do you want to know the biggest joke of it all? I didn't see it. The idea that, I don't know, that he would listen to them. That he would ever reach a point where he'd put what we had below his hurt pride and his fears. It never crossed my mind.
So what happened?
Well, he knew I was curious by nature, so one night when we were in bed together, he suddenly asked me if I wanted to go on an adventure. Of course I said yes. So we snuck out into the cloister's courtyard. It was beautiful. The night was cloudless, and the old oak, our cloister shrine, had just begun to bloom. We made our way to the library building, but of course the door was locked. Out of nowhere, he pulled a key, grinning at me, and opened it. It was insane. As you can imagine, priests aren't known for being lenient towards these kinds of trespassings. We were risking our novitiate, and I didn't even know the reason, but I liked it. And we were doing it together, weren't we? It was exciting. He took my hand and we went to the High Priestess's office. We opened the door and went inside, and there he finally told me what we were here for. To open the grimoire, the High Priestess's spellbook.
Whatever that is, it sounds like that was a terribly bad idea.
It was. It was a stupid idea. And if I hadn't been so blind, so bloody naive, I should have seen it by then. But I didn't.
What did he ask you to do?
To open it and try to read one of the spells. He teased me. Told me that I wouldn't be able to do it. You know, saying it like that. It sounds so bloody stupid, doesn't it? But again, I was too blind. I laughed. I wanted to impress him, so I gave him a kiss. Opened the page and started saying the words. Long story short, I lost control. The spell was too much for me to handle, and it misfired. One moment I was staring at the pages, the next one, the library was aflame, and my lover was gone.
I'm sorry.
Don't be. I was the one too stupid to see it coming.
How far did that fire spread?
Not far. It was put out before it could do real damage. But, of course, that was the end of novitiate. I was thrown into the cell of shame and sentenced to 12 years of polishing prayer banks and cleaning floors in the shrine.
Your lover, did he regret it?
I think so. The only bloody gratification I ever got from this. But even if he would have confessed and begged me to take him back, I couldn't have. All that connection, that trust, it was gone. Worse, it was tainted.
Did you try to tell the priestesses the whole story?
No, I just sat there and smiled. Of course I did. But my love had all his friends to back him up. To them, it wasn't even a trial. It was a feast.
But you never did polish those prayer banks, am I right?
No. In the night after the trial, they still let me sleep in my chamber. Thoughtlessness, I suppose, or maybe they simply didn't care. I got my things, left, and never came back. So, here it is, the whole truth. No dark secrets, no assassinations, no necromantic rituals. Just a plain old broken heart. Compared with all that shit you had to go through, it almost sounds ludicrous.
It doesn't. Being betrayed by someone you trust often hits the hardest.
Yeah, I guess. It's just, I don't get it. How could he give all that up? I mean, there was something between us, you know? Something rare, something precious. But no, he threw it all away for his fucking vanity. But in a way, it's just a continuation of what I've always known. Wherever I am, I'm a stranger. People don't like me, and I don't like them.
For what it's worth, I'm glad our paths crossed.
Yeah, me too, Corporal. Me too. I'd like some space now. I hope you don't mind. Let's talk later.
Let's go, finally.
So, what's the plan?
Reborn. Become revived when you die. Can only be triggered once every 120 seconds. Okay.
What's next?
Well, that was one of them.
Tahar, it is
Next
good to
one.
see that you have recovered. This place and these people lack guidance without you.
They did?
Yes, the Lord Marshal tried to assume control, but as you might have expected, he did not have everybody's support. I was even fearing an internal power struggle, and I'm glad it did not come to that. I must say, Tahar, your mother, she is remarkable. I have always wondered what the Shapers look like, and now I do. It is fascinating, though I suppose this is a difficult topic for you. Forgive me if my words were inappropriate.
All that matters is that we save her. We need to stop Lacane and get my mother's spirit back into her body.
Yes, this is our objective. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Yes, apparently so.
Yes, what is
it? Okay.
So, Undergast, when you told me about your split with Lena, I got the feeling that you were more than just colleagues.
You are asking if we were in love. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, I guess.
Then let me start by telling you that the term love is undefined and that theories about it conflict one another. I have read a lot of books on it, and I've studied the poems, and I've come to the conclusion that it is ultimately a primitive, carnal urge that people have come to romanticize for the emotions that come with it. I, myself, never felt it, and maybe that was because I saw the underlying mechanisms. I always found it strange how people overreact so strongly to such a simple emotion, and maybe that very fact stopped me from being able to feel these emotions at all.
Okay. He's, yeah.
Well, what are the underlying mechanisms?
The desire to reproduce with a fitting mate. In fact, the orcs have a very dry, rational view on this process, but for some reason humans, dwarves, and elves do not.
Love is more than just that.
Well, most people would agree with you, and I'm certain that in your subjective experience it is.
So, what you're saying is that you were never able to feel love, but then Lena came along and you did.
No, it was not that simple. What stood out in our relationship was that we connected. I've never felt that before. You see, Tahar, to me, the bonds people have always felt peculiar, and I am not like Yana. Her mind simply does not have the ability to feel these bonds anymore. She had them once, but then she lost them, as she became a dreamweaver. My brain is capable of feeling these things, but I am unable to connect with the outside world. I only have my own mind as a frame of reference. For example, when a person tells you yes, whereas he or she means no, you might be able to feel this discrepancy because you are able to empathize with her. I can't. To me, this person's distress would make no sense whatsoever. But then there was Lena. For some bizarre reason, she understood me and I understood her. Or at least, I thought that I did. It was as if this barrier, this shell that separates my mind from others, was pervious to her emotions. I know how strange it sounds, and I also have no explanation for why this was, yet it changed me. All at once, I felt connected. Do you know this feeling, Tahar? You have traveled with these people for quite some time now. Is there anyone you were, well, fond of?
Well, yes, there is.
I see. Then you probably know how distracting such a feeling can be. To be honest, when I first became aware of that bond between Lena and me, I was horrified. I could not focus anymore. When I sat down to write my studies, I realized after hours that none of what I had written made sense at all.
What did Lena make of all that?
Nothing. Unlike me, she did not try to analyze, to understand its origin. At the same time, she did not discourage me from pondering. I believe this is what made our relationship unique. Complete acceptance. She did not try to tell me how I should behave or feel, and neither did I. Even when she decided to leave the guild and I decided to stay behind, we both accepted each other's decisions.
Your inability to relate to others, is it innate?
Yes. If it were not, I might have considered my sudden connection to Lena as a symbol of overcoming. But it was not. Even though I felt connected to Lena, I was still unable to feel the same way towards others. This is what deeply confused me.
Am I right to assume that your relationship ended with your disagreement over the Creators Guild abandoning its neutrality?
No, you misunderstand. We never had a relationship. Although the feelings were mutual and we, well, acted on them, we never felt the need to bind ourselves to some close-minded societal construct. But yes, you are correct. It was the disagreement that broke our bond. Quietly, she left and never returned again.
What, so you didn't even argue? I have a hard time imagining that.
As I said, acceptance of one another's nature and decisions was a pivotal element in our interactions. Though I did notice that my unwillingness to follow her on her mission caused her more emotional distress than she usually would have felt. You see, if there ever was disharmony between us, it was when she tried to encourage me to embrace the world, as she put it. She told me that both I as a person and my studies would benefit from more first-hand experience.
Such as?
Well, anything. Traveling, studying the Zarlanthep ruins first-handed, even visiting the city of Everlight every once in a while. She seemed to think that it could help me get a better understanding of the world. But again, she never tried to force me. I could tell that my unwillingness upset her, but like always, she showed acceptance.
Do you feel, I don't know, betrayed?
Betrayed? No. By betrayal, people usually mean when someone behaves contrary to what they agreed on, or more often than not, as they would like that person to behave. I always found the word to be very misleading. Desires, wishes, and urges are natural things, and I always found the usage of such heavily judgmental words to be very childish. Lena did what she thought was right, and so did I. I have not and will never blame her for that.
How do you feel about this?
That is a good question. I still think about her, almost every day. But the more time passes, the more this entire episode starts to feel like a vague, distant dream, the way an elder must feel about youth. I do not know how I would feel if I ever saw her again.
I can imagine. Well, thank you for trusting me with this, Undergast.
You have nothing to thank me for. If this conversation helped you get a better picture of me, I'm glad we had it. But there is one more thing I would like to ask you, Tahar.
Tell me.
Do you have regrets? Do you ever feel as if you could and should have acted differently than you did act?
Everybody has regrets.
That seems like a deliberately vague answer. It could indicate that you do have regrets, but it could also indicate that you do not have them. But I understand. If you do not want to share this with me, you do not have to. You see, I've never told you this, but I find your resilience to be remarkable.
How so?
Well, it is no secret that you have endured a lot of pain, especially your early childhood must have made a mark on your psyche. But still, you did not give up.
Well, it wasn't always easy.
Of course not. Either way, I think we have spent enough time talking. We should get back to the tasks at hand.
We should. So long, Undergast.
He still didn't get a new skill. And there's so much talking. All the characters are so deep. It's crazy. Rowan, next one.
Huh?
Tahar, what is it?
You knew about my mother, didn't you? That's what you hinted at back at the forge, before we set out to the Eye.
Well, the answer is yes and no. I had suspicions, let us call it that, but they weren't enough to go on, and I had no idea your mother was connected to the Bloodburn.
Why didn't you tell me?
That I believe you might be the result of your father's experiments? That you're the offspring of some long-dead, forgotten race. Tell me, Tahar, what for? I mean, at best, you wouldn't have believed me. And at worst, it would have cost you your sanity. So no, I don't think I should have told you. I didn't know if these suspicions had any substance at all. And I would have been at great risk, especially back then when you were still part of the rebellion.
My god, he's so upset.
Where did these suspicions come from?
Did my father tell you?
No. And he never found out that I knew. Your father... I don't need to tell you how meticulous he was, do I? That's why he always kept notes of his experiments and studies. I found one, a notebook. The story's actually quite simple. Your father had gone out to meet with Aelot Iskander, and had tasked me with cleaning up his laboratory.
Really? He never let me into his laboratory.
I know. And he wasn't exactly trustworthy towards me, neither. But you know Asamo. His mood was never what you'd call stable. One day, he'd think the entire rebellion had schemed against him. The next day, he told us that we'd change the world. It was part of his charisma, I guess. Sometimes I think the reason why the Mage Rebellion became so big was less of Asamo's magical powers, rather than his ability to create emotions in his followers. But we digress. So I had found this small booklet on his table. It didn't look important in any way, yet I was immediately curious. I opened it and started reading.
What was in there?
His experiments in the eye. The ancient woman, as he called her. Your creation, these waxwork figures which he tried to infuse with life. It was disturbing. And at the same time, fascinating, as you can imagine.
That book. Did it say anything about how this ritual worked? Andrew said something about how the Shaper is conceived differently.
I don't think it can be compared to how two humans reproduce, if that's what you're thinking. But as for the details, I don't know. As I said, I barely had 1 hour. And I only got to the chapter about you in the very end.
Do you still have that book?
No, of course not. I couldn't even read through all of it, else your father would have noticed that I had done nothing of what he had tasked me with. And I have no idea where it is now.
I figured. So, why did he, well, create me? My mother said it was to gain access to the Archfire.
Yes, I think that was the main reason. Though I couldn't help but notice a certain, I don't know, warmth in his words when he described his plans.
Was there?
I know it sounds cynical, Tahar, but yes, there was. Still, I don't think you were just a tool to him. You weren't. Tell me, Tahar, knowing all that, how does it make you feel?
I don't know. It doesn't change anything about the present.
No. I guess it doesn't. Either way, I think we both need some time to think. As I said, Tahar, I'm sorry that I didn't tell you earlier, but I simply didn't know what to do.
Regenerate focus when you kill an enemy. You have such a nice ring. 1 strength and 1 dex, and we don't even use this guy.
Corporal?
Okay, next one.
Got it.
Make the giant killer hammer. Let's see.
Armor. This way, right?
We still have 2-3 people to talk to.
Certainly.
You mean this one? No. Oh. Didn't we find the dwarven skull padding already? I thought we did. Also, we can't craft anything yet.
There we go. Thanks to her.
Looks the same. Okay, cool.
Yes?
Let me take a look at your designs.
Of course. Take all the time you need.
You're an adventurer, aren't you? Come take a look. I'm
Okay,
sure
you know
I've
what
got
kinda
something that might
sucks?
spark your interest.
I want to put another point, two more points in this one actually. But I don't know. Actually, I think I want to get out of the elementalism skill because I'm not really using the blizzard or the earthquake anymore because our units actually did enough damage to kill the buildings. And that would give me like 6-8 skill points that I could put 2 in here and then 6 in here. I think I'm gonna do that. Might not actually put 2 in here, I don't know, maybe just 1. So we get more money for selling stuff. Oh, we still have 4 potions for this, so. But the Call of the Forsaken might actually be worth getting into this 3 that I just saw. Because we actually summoned some units, some good units. Decayed Knight, Undead Crusher. And not just 3 undeads. Which seems pretty nice. Because I was just thinking if we want to take the Void Arrow instead of the Undeads, but we're actually getting good buddies here, so. Trigger spell with every attack. Weakened and silenced. My god, this shit is actually good. And not just 33% chance. Fuck, I think we have to skip this leadership tree over here because this shit is all just too good now. I think this just gets more damage.
Ban flowers. Ban flowers. Ban flowers.
I don't know what to say to that. Shoot void arrows at enemies. Target position that shoots volleys of void arrows at enemies. Of powerful void arrows at your enemies. I mean, sure. So we have 3 points left. Okay, so now I know what you meant when you said you liked ability points more. Because now you actually need a lot of ability points. Oh, fuck. Int, Constitution, willpower.
You are the 5th greatest lord.
We have items that give us stats. That's why. We start with 3 and then 3 willpower. I'm just reskilling, that's why. See if I do this. We can't go above level 12. Because we skilled to level 10 now, but we got +2 from items.
That's just how it is.
Special goods would have been nice, but I guess it's whatever. I think I prefer this. Good summons and summons. How much damage is it? 105. +2. 2 points left. More damage. This one is insta kill. I think actually I'm gonna go back here. And with the next level up we're just gonna get the barter stuff again. Or maybe even the rally. You know what, never mind. No, never mind. Why don't we take this one? 4 more damage. Fuck the gold. We are rich. Right? We're just gonna keep that 1 point for now. And we can wear all the stuff again. Can only be used by a gore. Okay. This guy, what do we do with him? More strength. Constitution. Based on int. Huh. Oh, we just go strength. Like that. Could get armored, but I feel like it's just too many spells that we have. So it's rough. Also taking this one was a mistake, I think. Or maybe this one. We don't really use it that much. It has like a super long cast time. We pretty much only use these 3. So instead of these 2, we could take the armored thingy. Area of effect 16 meters. And with this it's permanent on level 3. Here's Grim, my man. Fresh start for you. Additional targets hit 2. Huh. We could get shield bash again. Because we do use a shield again. Five points left. Nothing has scales of int, right?
Oh my god!
Thank you. It's all willpower. So I think this is good. I'm not sure. Immune to afflictions. Apply armor. Restore focus. Oh, when using a focus potion.
I'm gonna come.
Oh, but it's the same actually, so never mind. But it's only 4 seconds, plus 50 resistance. Alright, Kasha. You started 5 minutes ago, never mind. The holy shield seems so good though. But we don't really have that much focus anyways with him. It's like I want too much stuff. I'm too greedy. You know, actually, we're using a shield, right? I think this is good. Hey Maya. I think I'm happy with that. We don't play with taunt. Or we could put 2 points in there and then next level up, which we have soon. We just take the 3rd point in here. Or we play without that and just put it down now. We'll be fine. Oh my god, we have to redo so much shit. What was that? Oh, we don't want that. That was the crit. Target. I guess we reskill with him as well. Or do we have to? Actually, I don't think we have to. Shield, immune to interruption, immune to purge. Just take that. Willpower. Apply, be good. Refer. We're gonna take that. I think. No, we were not.
Oh, 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 banana, 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 oh, 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 banana, 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 banana.
So stupid. Attack speed, that's what I want. Okay, I think we are good to go now, finally.
Uh-huh.
Yes? Let me take a look. Of course. Take all the time you need.
Everything for the weary
Now would you
traveler.
look at that?
Didn't have anything here. Yeah.
Sounds like a plan.
Mm-hmm. Let me see.
Certainly. Yes, come closer. I'm sure I have just what you need. Come again. May Tiara bless your path.
Alright, let's do some more talking. Actually, never mind. I have to do all this skill stuff again. Take all that out. That's the summoning. We have these. Bugs, okay. And then we have single target. We don't care about that one. We want this one. We want Hawkeye for attack speed. Impaling shot was the stun. We want this one on full HP targets. Maybe put it like that. He has too many spells. Okay, we need heal. We need a resurrection. This is not that important. Kinda, but not too much. This is damage. Shield. I'm just gonna drag all of them in for now. For him, we have the melee thingies here. We have the earth rune. And we need those. Well. Now how do we put them? Can put that in the back, I guess. Damage, this one stuns. This is fine, I think. Heal, resurrection, buff. More heal, actually. Shouldn't see how strong they are. That's a long cast time. Yeah, this guy is strong. Okay. What about those guys? I mean, they're low HP, but the damage is pretty good.
Just give the word.
Okay, I'm happy with that, I think. Unholy Totem. Okay, let's do some talking.
Did you ever think about what would happen if the Queen never wakes up from her coma?
She will wake up. The healers claim that she's already getting better.
They've claimed that ever since the dragon incapacitated her.
The Queen has Hibernian blood in her veins. And as long as her heart is still beating, I will not waste any time thinking about something that might never happen. Though, of course, that is not to say that others at the court haven't done it. Most people believe that Queen Aelith doesn't have an heir. But that's wrong. She does.
Really? Who?
A cousin. I suppose you know about the Queen's problematic ancestry. The ability to give life has always been impaired in her bloodline, which is why she does not have any brothers or sisters. However, it was rumored that her uncle, Anno Aelith, left an heir before he died. A bastard son.
It's the first time I've ever heard that.
Yes, because the Crown took measures to quiet these rumors. Suffice it to say that Queen Aelith's supposed cousin is far from an ideal candidate for the throne. But I will not go into detail on this topic. It is irrelevant. And it will stay irrelevant. Because the Queen will survive. I can feel it.
I wanted to talk about Leonard.
I had a feeling you would. Look, back at Greykeep, the situation seemed crystal clear. You killed 3 of your brethren, and General Noria openly spoke out against you. Similar to my policy regarding the purity of light, I can now see that I was wrong. But again, all I did was to take all factors into consideration and decide accordingly. It was all I could do.
I understand.
That's good. Either way, you've been pardoned. And more than that, now we're fighting side by side against the real scourge of the Empire. I don't hold any grudges against you. And I can only hope you feel the same.
The past is the past.
It is indeed.
Tell me, Angar, do you regret helping the Purity, now that you've seen their true face?
That's a hard question to answer. And you know it. On the one hand, yes, I underestimated you. On the other hand, back then, it was the only logical thing to do.
Logical?
Yes. After all, your father did in the Mage War. The people were angry, desperate, broken. The Purity channeled and still channels these emotions. It may sound cynical to say that now, but if it hadn't been for the Purity of Light, something far worse might have happened.
Worse than a mage genocide? You let the Purity murder hundreds of mages.
Most of them were war criminals anyway. They would have been sentenced to death no matter what. But that is not to say that my decision to give the Purity of Light that much power came easy. I'm not free of self-doubt and empathy, Tahar, even though it may seem that way to you.
However, I will not lie. Mages are a problem, and something needs to be done about them. If we don't, it is only a matter of time until a second Isamo Tahar will appear and once again plunge the world into chaos.
We need a group that represents mages. Then treaties could be made.
That is an interesting idea. But before we can decide on any course of action, we need to deal with the current threat first. But to return to your question...
No! I don't want to die!
All I did was take every factor into consideration and decide accordingly. You did the same, more than once. I've heard of the trail of destruction you've left behind on your journey. Many people died under your command.
We tried to help wherever we could.
I believe you. But have no doubt that there are many who don't. What I'm trying to say is, there might have been a better way to handle things, but I did not see it. I did what I could, and even though it turned out to be a mistake, I have no regrets.
You said that you have an idea on how we can get more allies to fight the Purity.
Yes, I do. It's someone you're already familiar with. At least, according to your friend Iria. The Iron Falcons.
You want to convince them to join our troops?
Not all of them, obviously. The field dog are an even greater threat than the purity, even if most people nowadays have almost forgotten about them. What I suggest is that we strike a bargain with them. They give us a small division of their elite keepers, and we provide them with twice the amount of footmen and maybe engineers to make up for it.
Engineers and infantry for a handful of knights. Is that really worth it?
It is. The Falcons aren't only excellent fighters. Their presence will also inspire our soldiers. They're living legends.
That's not what it seemed like when I was there. High Keeper Aranor almost lost the tomb just because she was too stubborn to cooperate with the Deathmen.
Well, given that the latter now fight for the Harbinger, her mistrust wasn't that unjustified, don't you think? But still, you make a fair point. Keeper Aranor is complicated. But if what the elf told me is true, she learned her lesson.
All right, it's worth a try. When do we set out?
Whenever you want. Thanks to these Godstones, it won't take us long to get there, so I'm not expecting this mission to cost us more than a day, 2 at most. We should probably take some troops with us, just in case the canyon is still unsafe.
Fair enough. I'll let you know when we go.
Good.
All right.
Tahar, how are you feeling? To be honest, I thought you were dead. While you were in that coma, I was unable to read or feel any thoughts and emotions emanating from your spirit. You were like a corpse.
I'm still trying to make sense of what happened.
Yes, it must be confusing. There is something else I would like to talk about. Maybe you have guessed it already.
Your friend. Now you know what killed him.
Her. She was a woman, and her name was Mila. But yes, that's right. Now I do. It was your mother. The Shaper.
What do you feel?
I don't know. Ultimately, the question I asked myself is, can there be culpability if there was no ill intent? I've done many things which people might consider evil, but then again, I didn't do them out of malice, but because I needed to. Because feeding my urges is the only way for me to survive. I know the situation is slightly different from your mother's. She didn't know her song killed people, but ultimately it did. So the question is she to blame for Mila's death? And if not, who is?
Why does it matter?
It doesn't matter, but I would still like to know the answer.
It's my father's fault. If he hadn't trapped her, none of this would have happened.
And you wouldn't exist. Isn't that a strange thought? At least I know now what happened. That alone gives me some kind of closure.
Do you hate me now? Or my mother?
No. Hatred is an emotion I rarely feel, if ever. If anything, I feel grief that the person who was dearest to me died such a pointless death.
I see. And what now? Will you stay?
Yes, I will.
How come? You found the answer you were looking for, and the blood burn has been stopped.
Yes, it has. But the truth is, I wouldn't know where to go. All my contacts know me as a traitor by now. I suppose I could start over in another city, or maybe even another country, but quite frankly, I don't see the point. All along the way, my life has revolved around the gratification of my urges, until Mila came along. And even then, the emotions people usually associate with love were different for me, and her both. So why leave? Fighting on your side is as good as any other option I have right now. Also, feeding my urges is a lot easier in times of war. There was more than enough blood in the past weeks, and there will be more up ahead. I can feel it.
For what it's worth, I'm glad that I can count on you.
It's good that you feel that way. Let us talk later if there's something to talk about, Tahar. Thank you for your time. Yes, Corporal? How can I help?
About you being an assassin. You said that you might be willing to tell me more about that at another time. How about now?
I'm still not certain. The question really is, do you want to know? it might change something.
Such as?
Your perception of me. It is your choice.
Well, I wouldn't have asked otherwise. Tell me.
All right. Where should I begin? Do you remember what I told you about that man who bought me from the Greyfell Bazaar? My owner? I also told you that after an incident, he discovered my talents and made me an assassin.
I remember. But what does that have to do with your morality?
It's complicated. The incident took place at a festivity. A lot of highly influential people were there, servants of the crown, wealthy merchants, nobles. My master knew all of Greyfell's elites. As always, at these festivities, it was my and the other slaves' responsibility to ensure the guests' well-being. It must have been close to midnight when a man took me into his chambers. I'd learned to play along years ago, because resisting only made it worse. This time, however, was different. For some reason, that man wanted me to tell him that I loved him. I did, but he kept on telling me that I should say it like I really mean it. When I couldn't, he got angrier and started choking me. I had almost lost consciousness when I felt something break. I don't know how else to put it. It was as if my mind simply cracked open, like a crystal ball smashed against a mirror. And all of a sudden, that man and I weren't separate entities anymore.
I don't follow.
My magic, my dreamweavery, that's when it broke free. You probably don't know this, but the only way to become a dreamweaver is by shattering your mind. You are opening yourself to the thoughts and emotions of others, but you lose your own.
Wait, Dreamweavers don't feel and think?
No, we do. But it's differently than normal people. Me. The Iana you're talking with is the result of long work and studying of human behavior. I know how to blend in, to seem like I'm just like you. But the world inside my head is an entirely different one. Again, it is almost impossible to put into words if you're not a dreamweaver yourself.
What happened to the man?
I killed him. It wasn't a conscious choice, looking back. I even think that shattering my mind was my body's way of ensuring survival. I closed my eyes, reached out for the man's mind, and just crushed it. The man gasped, lost balance, and fell right off the bed. He wasn't dead yet, but unable to move. Like a puppet rid of its strings. At first I was disoriented. But then I felt it, for the first time. The urge.
To kill him?
Yes. To massacre him. Hear his screams. To see his life taken by my hand. I grabbed a lantern that was standing on a bedside table and knelt over him, and... well, you can picture the rest. To get back to your original question, that urge, it stuck with me. I think that the moment when my mind shattered and I became a dreamweaver was what unlocked it. Ever since then, I've found violence and bloodshed to be ecstatic, erotic even. And when I kill someone, like I killed that man, I feel alive. Actually, it's one of the few times I am capable of feeling anything at all.
Huh. And this is why you became an assassin?
Yes. My master introduced me into the craft. Probably because he knew that my dreamweavery had changed me. I wasn't just a slave child anymore. I was a weapon now. More than that, even. I needed what these new tasks my master sent me on provided me with. It had become a basic need of mine. Of course, I briefly considered changing my profession after my master had his accident. But I didn't. Killing is something I need, as much as a child needs the love of his mother. If I don't feed my urge, I will die. Not physically, but mentally. I just know this.
But is there no way to cure you? To return your mind to its original state?
No, there isn't.
Well, that was definitely not what I was expecting.
I can imagine.
That's a lot to take in.
I know. Now tell me, Tahar. Do you regret asking me this question? Knowing all this, do you think I'm a monster?
You're not.
Really? That's unexpected. Anyway, I would like some time for myself now. I hope you understand.
So much talking.
Yes, Corporal?
Yeah.
How can I help?
You got your month a public transport ticket. Nice. Gosh, I don't you have work in 3.5 hours?
I'd like to know more about your friend, the one you lost to the bloodburn.
I'm not sure what there is to say. She was my friend, and the bloodburn took her. Hence, I joined you. That is all there is to say.
You said you know where we can find more allies.
Yes. I'll be brief. While you were asleep, an elven messenger came by. Varden Merilith, one of the Moorhere scryers from Leafshade, sent him.
Merilith? What did he want?
Only that he needed your help. They, that is, he and a couple of his followers, seem to be somewhere deep in the Leafshade jungle, near the Halayish ruins.
She said she wanted to be left alone. Peter, let's talk to her again. I mean, if we can, you know?
The old Hibernian city. But what do they want there? That's dangerous.
I don't know, Tahar. We will need to find out.
Do we really have time for this?
That is something you will need to decide. But if we don't help, it might cause unrest within the Moorhere, who are fighting for us.
All right. We might look into this.
We should. Is there anything else you wish to discuss, Tahar?
Will do.
Nope.
Huh? Sure.
Tandai, Tahar. Come to trade?
Pleasure doing business with you. Come again. You have my attention.
I think that's the last one to talk to.
Yes, of course.
Yes?
As you want.
So you made it after all. Not bad.
You didn't think I would?
No. That sleep you were in. I didn't feel that there was any life left in you. But then again, you always were damn hard to kill to begin with. That new energy inside you, though, that's a different story.
So you can feel it?
That's like standing in front of a bonfire and being asked if you can feel the heat. Yes, Tahar, I can. Anyway, in case you're here to ask, we're staying.
So, you'll help me fight the Purity?
You make it sound as though this thing is somehow your responsibility. It isn't. That fanatic, with his idiotic stories of the All-Father's return, is out for all of us. Especially the orcs, or the other members of the Dark Races. So yeah, the Fire Wielders will stay.
That's good news. Thanks, Gore.
Don't mention it. Anything else? Huh?
Back in Bar Gregor, you told me that you think the orcs should strive to be more. What do you mean by that? Do you consider your culture to be, well, inferior?
Inferior? No, not at all. On the contrary, I'm glad to be a fire wielder, and not a human or an elf.
Why?
Because not so unlike the Shapers, your culture is bigoted, strange. You like to tell yourselves you're more than the animals you slaughter for food. You call yourselves civilized. But in the end, you look for the struggle just as anything and anyone else does. But of course you don't admit to it. You want to be better than that. And the result are lies, intrigue, wars, and assassinations. Their culture is so bizarre that it's almost amusing.
Well, you have a point.
I know. So no, I don't consider our culture to be inferior. But we've gone astray. Fools such as Krell was one. They're the reason your race looks down on us. If Zakrak had wanted us to be ever-fighting, ravaging brutes, he wouldn't have given us minds to begin with. Every brawl, every battle, every war has to have a purpose. It isn't something done for pleasure. Yes, it can be enjoyed. But at its core, it is ritual. The most basic one of nature.
In other words, violence and war are good and necessary, but only within measure?
Yes, and it should be learned from. That's where most orcs disagree. They claim to value wisdom, but when asked to choose between words and a club, they always choose the club. And as you see, this is why our culture has stagnated. In its current state, there will never be an orc empire, a great tribe, or the earth-shaking horde Zarek envisioned.
So
your popularity is falling.
A better future.
You make it sound so dramatic. For now, the Fire Wielders are a good start. And by helping you, they will hopefully see that diplomacy and strength don't always contradict each other. After that, we shall see.
Did you always have these ambitions?
No.
Then where did they come from?
None of your business, Tahar. Sorry.
All right. Don't you think a world without violence is possible?
No.
Why? Isn't that what we should all aspire to?
We should aspire to a lot of things. But tell me, Tahar, this world has existed for millennia. And has there ever been peace? Lasting peace?
No.
Exactly. And you don't think there's a reason for this? As I said, our very existence is based on conflict. Finding food, not freezing to death. Living means to struggle. Your people, with your warm clothes and banquets, try all in your power to forget that fact. But you can't, because ultimately, there's as much thirst for struggle in you as in an orc. What we orcs believe is that we should embrace it. That we should just face the truth, even if it's ugly. That the ways of nature can't be changed by its creation. It's like fighting the tides.
So what? Do we just kill each other whenever we feel like it?
No. What we need is a way to channel our urges. Ceremonial battles, arenas. A society that is centered around survival and strength, and gains, rather than loses stability from it. Because if we simply suppress these urges, such as humans, the elves, and the dwarves do, they will at one point only erupt even more violently.
I never looked at it that way. But I think you might be right.
You never fail to surprise, Tahar. Anyway, where were we?
Well, thanks for explaining.
Sure.
Regarding this rain you told me about, I
want to talk about it. I'm not supposed to, but I don't know. I trust you, Tahar. And I've kept silent about this for far too long. Zarek's fangs, this is so silly. Feel like a damn child.
Gore, just spit it out already.
Right. Where do I start? Before becoming a shaman, every disciple has to go through a trial. The Iron Trial, as it's called. I told you that I did most of my training in solitude, didn't I? That wasn't true. 5 years after I entered disciplehood, another orc was accepted by my elder. A female. named Rain. She was 2 years younger than me.
I thought only male orcs can be gifted.
No. It's just that for female orcs, it's even rarer to have magic, which is why there are close to no female shamans.
How did you get along?
Well, at first, I was a complete dick to her. I was jealous and feared for my position. However, she never took offense by it. She fired back at me when I got childish, but at the same time never lowered herself to my level. As the years went by, we became friends. And no, there was no courting or mating involved, if that's what you're thinking. She was more like a sister to me, and one who, unlike my true kin, understood me. Those years in the Orcish steppes, they were special. We spent days, weeks out in the wild, doing whatever our elder tasked us with. And though it was hard, there was beauty in that. We just had this connection between us, this trust.
Sounds like friendship to me.
Yeah, friendship. I never had a connection like that again, and I rarely talk about it. The one time I did, the orc I told it to laughed right in my face. He thought it was ludicrous, a male spending time with a female who wasn't his mate. He stopped laughing when I broke his nose.
But something happened, am I right?
Yeah, the trial did. The sacred test every disciple has to take before he or she can become a shaman. Our elder sent us both at the same time, which was unusual. But of course I was relieved. There was plenty of talk about the Iron Trial, and I was scared.
How did Rain feel about it?
Same as I. Believe me, Tahar, only a fool would have entered into the trial with a smug smile on his face. We knew what was ahead of us.
What did you know about the trial?
Rumors. Shamans are forbidden to talk about it. But it was known that only half of those who take it return at all.
So what happened?
Zarek's fangs. I can't believe I'm telling you this. I'm breaking my oath.
Don't do anything you'd regret later.
I won't. We weren't told much about the trial. Only that we'd have to venture to a cave, far up in Barga Gore. They also didn't tell us how to get there. Only that Zarek would guide us. And he did. After a week of traveling, we found it. It was a strange place, Tahar. I saw that right from the beginning. The entrance looked like a mouth, the rocks surrounding it like the bones of an old, forgotten beast, and the stalagmites like hundreds of teeth. But of course, we went in. We had to.
What did you find?
A giant hall. It was as mesmerizing as it was unsettling. There were murals and carvings all over the cave walls. Old glyphs that I'd never seen before.
Maybe the next time we shouldn't do all the talking at once, but like, you know, just parts of it. Because I don't know for how long we're talking already. Like an hour? This is crazy.
Shaper glyphs, maybe.
No, not Shaper. They looked as if the Guardians themselves had carved them into the rock.
Interesting. What else was there?
Nothing. That's what baffled me. Apart from those murals, the hall was completely empty. And for some reason, the ground in that hall was completely smooth, like polished stone. There were braziers, one in each corner of the hall, and they were burning brightly. Rain was as confused as I was. But nonetheless, we entered the hall, and that's when the trouble began. Because all of a sudden, the exit was gone. No magical noise, nothing. Just in that moment when we looked the wrong direction, it disappeared. And instead of it, we were looking at another wall.
How is that even possible? Maybe it was an illusion.
That was our first thought too, but it wasn't. That new wall was as solid as every other rock in that hall.
Strange. What did you do?
Well, after we calmed down a little, we assessed our situation. We figured that this was the Iron Trial, and that it was our task to find another exit. So we started looking. But it was pointless. There was nothing. We couldn't even hear the wind anymore. For the next 14 days, we were trapped. We couldn't make that wall disappear, and no matter how long we studied the glyphs, how long we prayed, nothing happened. On the 5th day, our provisions had come to an end, save for half a skin of water and a handful of jerky. On the 8th day, it was all gone.
Blazes. How did you survive?
I'm getting there. As you can imagine, the thirst was the worst. It drove us mad, and we searched every corner of that goddamn hall for just a drop of water. Not that we hadn't looked before.
Now the
But as you
teacher.
know, hope dies last. Have you ever had thirst, Tahar? Real thirst?
No.
No.
And hope it stays that way. I'd rather bleed out on a pole than experience that again. On the 11th day, Rain and I were puking our guts out. Our skin had literally started to crack, and I felt as if I was burning from within. On the 12th day, we were only an inch from death. That's when the dream came.
A dream?
Yes, a shared dream, almost like a vision. We were still in that hall, Rain and I, but we were out of our bodies, floating like spirits. At first I thought we had died, then I saw what was different. The floor was full of blood, and that blood was burning. The murals and glyphs had started moving, twisting, like shadows dancing on a wall. That's when I first understood what they were depicting. For some reason in the real world, I'd never been able to.
What did they depict?
It showed what was expected from us, what we had to do to get out. Sorry this isn't easy. I've dreamed about those weeks ever since. But telling someone, it feels bizarre. Zarek demanded a fight. Either one of us died by the hands of the other, or we would die there together. The Iron Trial. We were never both meant to pass.
Truth be told, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and it shouldn't have surprised me either. But for some reason, I don't know. He had known Tahar, our elder, our master. He had known that it would come to this. Yet he still decided to send the two of us out at once.
So you fought each other?
No. Trial or not, I would have rather died than done that. And that's precisely what I told Rain. A god that demands a man to kill his own sister is not a god that deserves worship by anyone. But Rain wouldn't have it. She claimed that if both of us died, both of our lives would be wasted for nothing. I got angry and asked her if she meant that she wanted to fight me. She said no.
I don't understand.
She wanted me to kill her. She told me that she was already too weak to make it down the mountain anyway, but that I could still make it. Believe me, Tahar, if there had been any strength left in me, I would have punched her just for suggesting it.
Did you ever consider sacrificing yourself?
No. I know it makes me sound like a coward. And maybe that was part of the reason why I didn't. But the sane part of my mind still believed that there had to be another way. That all this was just some cruel joke. And the cave we had found maybe wasn't Zarek's after all.
And yet, you're here.
I am. I should have known before she even did it. She always had to have it her way, no matter the price. It happened when I was asleep. She took my dagger from its sheath, put it into my hand, and drove it through her throat without hesitation. When I opened my eyes, her blood was already all over my face. And as if Zarek had been watching all along, the wall disappeared. No noise. Just like that. The wind was back, and it was raining outside. The first time in months. I like to think that she saw it before she died.
Did you make the descent?
I did. There were berries in a mountain goat that had been hit by a rock slide, right next to the exit. It was so absurd I almost had to laugh. When I got back to the Elder's shack, I screamed at him, then broke down and started to cry. He just listened. In the end, he told me that we had both known what had been at stake. Yet we agreed. Choice and consequence. He made me a shaman the next day.
Do you blame yourself sometimes?
Of course I do. But ultimately, it was her choice. And all I can do to honor her now is to respect it.
That's cruel.
Maybe. But without cruelty, there isn't life. Don't you too send brothers and sisters into battle, Tahar? Children, fathers. You do it because ultimately, you believe the outcome will lead to a world more desirable. It was the same with Rain and me. We wanted to be shamans, Zarek's chosen, and we both paid the price.
I see.
There's one more thing. Remember when you asked me why I feel the way I do about our culture? Why I think we orcs should strive for more? It's Rain who made me realize that. Most orcs would have fought each other in that cave, to the death. But she didn't. Instead of submitting to her primal instincts, she made a sacrifice. One that I could have made too, if I hadn't been such a coward. Blazes, it feels strange to have told you all this. But, I don't regret it.
Well, thanks for trusting
Use
me
skill.
with this, Gore.
Let me have some time
Let's
for
go.
myself right now, alright? I need to think.
Yeah, I think. And we could just talk to him again. Hmm? Damn. Fuck, how do we use it? We can't, only when we put him into our party.
Huh?
You said you know where we can find more allies.
Yes I do. I'll make it short. The Ash Reavers have invaded the foot of Barga Gore. If we defeat them and their leader, like we defeated Krell, their soldiers will join us.
The Ash Reavers. I'm guessing that's another orc tribe.
Yes, you already met them, back at Farland's Hope. They are a very violent tribe. A lot like what Krell wanted the Fire Wielders to become. And they are nomads. They never stay in one place for more than a couple of moons, which is why their city is basically a movable fortress.
So, we head back to Barga Gore and defeat them. Sounds simple enough.
Well, yeah. Except for one thing. Kagan, the Ash Reavers chieftain. I think this invasion is about more than gaining new territory. It's personal. He despises me. And that's putting it lightly.
Why? Because you killed Krell?
No. It's more complicated than that. Do you remember the story about my trial? About Rain?
Yeah, I do. You took the Shapeshifter's trial together, and she sacrificed herself so that you could live.
Yeah, she did. To get to the point, Kagan is Rain's true brother. To this day, he thinks that I killed her.
Did you ever try to tell him the true story?
We only met once. And yes, I did try to talk to him. It ended in a fight which I won. That disgrace only added to his hatred. And truth be told, that was my last attempt to convince him. I knew it was fruitless. Our tribes lived weeks of journey from each other. And, well, the memory of Rain's sacrifice is painful enough for me as it is. I just wanted it buried, somewhere in the dark corners of my mind where I'd never have to face it again. Which, as you can guess, didn't work. I still have nightmares.
I see. And that's why he invaded Bargagor.
It must be. Bloodthirsty as the Ash Reavers are, there is no reason for them to start a war with the Fire Wielders, especially now that we unify them. He must have heard that I'm behind this, and that rekindled his hatred for me. In other words, we need to stop him, and as fast as possible. According to one of my sources, the Purity is also planning to start an attack on Bargagor. The Fire Wielders should be able to hold them at bay, but not if they have to wage war against the Ash Reavers at the same time.
Why is the Purity attacking Bargagor?
Isn't it obvious? To eradicate us. Just like the Dark Elves, we Orcs are a creation of the renegade gods. So we aren't even given the chance to repent. The Kane's war doesn't stop in Northander, Tahar. He plans to take on the entire world.
But that's crazy. He must know he can't win this.
Does he? He's a fanatic. He thinks Aeonir is acting through him. I promise you this, Tahar. Even the moment your blade is at his throat, he'll think he can still win. He has completely lost his grip on reality.
So what's the plan? Return to Bargagor, drive back the Ash Reavers, and kill Kagan?
If all else fails, yes. We will kill him. For the sake of my people, and for our cause. But he's Rain's last living kin. So I want to first try reasoning with him instead. There must be a way to convince him that I'm not a liar, that I didn't kill his sister.
All right. I'll tell you when we head out.
Yes. Chieftain Czar already left before you woke up to get an idea of the situation. I know time is sparse, but we should leave as soon as possible. And thank you, Tahar. I appreciate it.
My god. I think that's about it.
Sure.
Let me go pee. Summon the Devourer, please. Big guy. Immune to Purge, immune to Silence, immune to Knockback, immune to Frozen, immune to Weakened.
Huh?
Yep, 240 to 350 damage. These guys don't have that much HP, but they have pretty good damage. 200, 200 to 300, 100, and resistance armor.
Huh?
And this Unholy Totem is just sick. I don't know if you've seen it, or if you took the specialty in the other Brutality tree. I think you did. Look at that shit. 200 to 500 damage. Pure damage, magical damage. I mean, I guess it kind of sucks if they just focus it, but I'm just gonna assume they don't.
Yes.
Now if we use this,
Corporal?
Yes.
Let me know what you
What's next?
We should get moving.
Yes.
What is it?
Yes?
wait.
Yes.
Something you need?
Now it's
So,
active.
what's the plan?
Huh?
Just give the
Oh,
word.
why don't we see it here? Oh no, we do. Never mind.
Huh?
Let me know what you
Yes.
I'm into silence.
We should get moving.
Yes.
If we do this. Just stack, huh? Yeah, armored, holy shield, generated, hastened.
What's next?
Corporal?
Yes?
Now we have this
Just give the
for
word.
even more resistance.
Corporal?
What do we
You
need?
have my
yes?
attention.
Pretty sick.
So, what's the plan?
Yeah, we have a lot of buffs now.